Okay, now we started recording. Well, hey everyone, welcome to our webinar series organized by International Masters in Industrial Management. This is unbelievable, but the 13th webinar, okay? Last year we started with the first one and we were so, excited for that initiative, and it still continues. We are very happy with the attention from the audience, and we are very happy that our professors from the partner institutions are joining us for our webinars. And today we have a very interesting topic to talk about. It's a very ambitious topic to talk about, okay? So the webinar will be about how to achieve China's 2060 carbon neutral target. And we have Professor Jing from NPU. Later I will introduce her more. And the agenda of today is like, we are starting with a welcome session, then I will shortly introduce IMIM, our master program. Then Professor Jing will continue with the keynote speech on this ambitious target from China and the strategies in terms of how to achieve it. Later, we will be running an open Q&A session and we will close the webinar, okay? So, a small intro about our webinar. We are with our keynote speaker, Dr. Jing Shao from NPU, China. And in this webinar, we will try to explore the major challenges, okay, faced by the Chinese enterprises, Chinese business, basically in the process of realizing this low carbon value creation. Because China has set this goal of being carbon neutral by 2060, okay? For accelerating the growing economy like China, businesses in China, this can be a really ambitious target, but we are very happy to see this kind of ambitious targets from that geography as well. And Dr. Jing has been working on a project trying to understand how can Chinese business enterprises create low carbon value, okay? Basically how they can come up with novel business models, having rather low carbons, not the traditional practices, and also how can they link low carbon transformation with high quality development, because this is absolutely what China is interested in. They still want to continue with high quality development. I assume rapid development, but later Jing will explain it more. But of course, they want to link the low carbon transformation to this development. And finally, how to contribute to high quality economic and social development of this rapidly expanding country. Okay, I think we have a guest more. Yes, Enes is with us. Hello, Enes, welcome. Okay. This will be our webinar, okay? Well, before starting that, I would like to introduce our school, Industriales, the School of Industrial Engineering in Madrid of UPM, and our program, okay, International Master in Industrial Management, our IMIM. Well, just to start, IMIM is a multi-site master program. It's an international master program, and it has been designed to provide our international students with not only scientific and engineering-based education, but also even more interestingly, and we want to highlight that managerial skill sets, okay, business-related skill sets are provided to our students because they are generally interested in pursuing careers in internationally oriented manufacturing and service industries, having rather more managerial, okay, positions. So, IMIM has been also recognized by Erasmus Mundus, by European Commission for its educational excellence. So we have this branding as well. The program structure is quite, as you see, international. As we have said, it's a multi-master program. Our students start in Madrid at UPM. Okay, here we provide them a course track basically focusing on strategy, resources, and data. Okay, in an increasingly digitalized world. And then they are moving to Edinburgh, UK, to the Heriot-Watt University, and they are focusing on project management and enterprise management. And in semester 3, well, actually they come up with a quite interesting scheme, and students are free to choose among these 4 different options, okay, worldwide. One is in Dubai, and our students are highly interested in that option. It's the Dubai campus of Heriot-Watt, okay? And they are trying to focus on challenges for managing logistics and supply chain, considering the global business environments. And another option is Polito, okay, Turin, Italy, to focus on engineering and at this time the finance options. Another option is NPU, okay, where Professor Jing is connecting from China and to understand the dynamics and the structure of doing business with and in China. And finally, we have a partner from Mexico, okay, Tecnológico Monterrey. So there they take Monterrey, and there they can focus on data science and innovation. And now the even most interesting part comes, the final semester, the fourth semester. Our students are given the opportunity to run their master thesis basically anywhere around the world, okay? We do not have any constraints, any limitations on that, as long as they can negotiate and find an academic tutor from one of our partner institutions, either from UPM, from Heriot-Watt, from Polito, from Tech, from NPU, okay? And they can run their thesis either in the companies, either in the organizations, okay, profit-based organizations or public organizations, or they may also want to run their thesis in the universities, one of our partner universities. And in the end of the fourth semester, they successfully complete their degree and of course start working for many different organizations, okay, worldwide. Well, our graduates come from over 25 countries, okay, from Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Central America, okay, from all around the world. And then they start working at top industry sectors, including aviation, IT, consulting, energy, automotive, okay? And some of the top employers of IMIM graduates are Accenture, Citibank, Capgemini, HP, L'Oreal, Sony, Whirlpool, okay? It's like limitless. Our students are working for big transnational corporations, multinational corporations, as well as local companies. Some of them are also interested in starting their basically own startups. They become entrepreneurs. Some of them become, you know, more like academic oriented individuals, and they may want to continue with a PhD. So the options are really limitless in that sense. Well, this is IMIM, and today we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Jing Shao. Jing is also a former colleague of mine. We have studied in the same PhD program, our famous EDIM, okay, European Doctorate in Industry Management. And now Professor Jing is working as Associate Professor as well as Assistant Dean at School of Management. And she's also the Director of International Certificate Office in Northwestern Polytechnical University in China. Okay, and she got her double PhD degrees from Politecnico di Milano, Italy, and from our university, Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, Polytechnic University of Madrid in Spain. And her research is focused on sustainable production, consumption. This is a point that we intersect, Jing. I think we may have many different lines that we can discuss together. Circular economy business models, the same. I'm working on that. Isaac is working on this topic. As far as I remember, Enes, one of our contacts that's with us today as well, is working on that. And also Dr. Jing is working on carbon neutral strategy and policy formulation. Okay, this is, I think, the most relevant research topic related to the webinar today. And Dr. Jing has been a quite productive, high quality scholar, publishing more than 30 research articles. And she has been also acting as the council member of Sustainable Operation Branch of Chinese Society of Systems Engineering. She has worked as an expert for Asian Development Bank, expert on science and technology innovation of China Eastern Airlines Group, among many others. So saying that, I would like to welcome Jing again, okay? And I will stop sharing so that you can start sharing her screen. Now I can see Enes there. Hi, Enes. It's not so nice to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, the same here. Same here. Nice to catch up.
Yes. Yes, Isaac is there as well. Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming.
I can see you. Yes, I can see you, but I cannot see the presentation yet.
Oh, okay, I haven't shared it. So
Okay.
can you see?
It's on the way. Yes.
can be a bit
Can
slow.
try to make it full screen.
Yeah, I think I did it.
Perfect. Yeah. Floor is yours, Jing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for Avril and also UPM to give me a chance to talk about this very interesting topic. Because currently this is the main strategy in China to achieve by 2060, and actually since last year from 2020, when the president has announced our commitment, this topic has been dramatically increased our interest both in academic world and also the practitioners. So that's also the reason that I would like to talk about our governmental strategy about how to achieve these carbon neutral targets in about 40 years. Okay, so in this presentation, we'll have three main parts. First of all, I'll have an introduction about what is this target about. And also I'll talk about how the companies supposed to change or have a transformation of their strategies in order to achieve the carbon neutrality goal as a whole. And also in the last part, I will introduce how could we achieve this goal from the perspective of business, especially from the circular economy approach. And at last, I'll give you some pieces about how the business achieve the goal.
Jing, I think we cannot see you now. At least it's my case. I don't know if there is a problem with the video. Yes, now we can see you again. Yes,
okay,
thank you.
Okay, so firstly, as we all know that in COP26, this is the first conference of the parties held after the Paris Agreement entered the implementation stage. And the international community expects all parties, especially the developed countries, to truly implement their emission reduction commitments and take the joint action effectively to address the crisis and challenges brought from the climate change. And we all know that since the last 10 years, actually the world is getting warmer and warmer and has been the hottest on record. So considering that greenhouse gases from the human activities are the main cause of the global warming, all the governments agreed that urgent collective action is supposed to be needed and for further acceleration for the climate change. And actually, a lot of countries has published their timeline for how to achieve the carbon neutrality. Actually, 2 countries in the world have already achieved. And besides these 2 small countries, most of the Nordic countries like Sweden, Denmark, they have already published the law, which is they will achieve the carbon neutrality goal by 2045 or 2050. So actually, this is the goal actually 10 years before or 10 years ahead of the Chinese commitment. And also the European Union or Canada or Spain and Chile, they have announced and proposed the legislation for achieve the carbon neutrality by 2050. And also many other countries have put it in the policy documents, but they have not put it in law, but I think they will working on this progress. So first of all, we are talking about carbon neutrality and what does it mean? It is as known as the net zero CO2 emissions, and actually it's a balance between the amount of the carbon dioxide emissions and the amount of carbon dioxide removal in the world. So in this case, we want to achieve the net zero carbon dioxide emissions over a specific period. At the picture, you can see that actually in industries and in our daily life, we have a lot of CO2 emissions every day, but actually we need to take some measures and more advanced techniques in order to reduce the carbon emission. But still, even we have done much better than now, we still have something, we have some emissions left. So that means that we need to have some offset measures in order to make it balanced, become carbon neutrality at the end. So this is a pathway to achieve how to achieve the carbon neutrality in general. And for China, the main goal for carbon neutrality by 2025 and by 2030, we have already a very clear picture about how to achieve it. Especially we want to decrease the share of non-fossil energy consumption. And also we want to reduce the energy consumption per unit of GDP. Compared to 2020, we want to decrease by 13.5%. And also we want to, step one target is to, the carbon dioxide emission per unit of GDP should be cut by 18% compared to 2020. So by 2030, the numbers supposed to be much lower, and also we're supposed to achieve the goal of the carbon emission peaking by 2030. So this is a timeline that we have already done, and we are working on it in order to achieve the goal. Actually, it was like 3 years later. And on 22nd September 2020, our president has stated on the announcement at the 25th session of the United Nations General Assembly. And he said that the Chinese government will increase its nationally determined contribution and adopt more effective policies and measures in order to achieve the carbon emission peak by 2030 and also achieve carbon neutrality goals by 2060. And this is a very serious commitment which promised by the Chinese government. And also in order to achieve this goal, we have issued a series of 1+N policies documents to plan the strategic path for China to achieve this peak carbon and the carbon neutrality. So actually all these documents are issued in different industries, and in details, it includes creating a green and low carbon and circular economy, improving energy efficiency, increasing the share of the non-fossil energy consumption, and lowering the CO2 emissions and boosting the carbon sink capacity of ecosystems. So, so far we can see the announcement from the Chinese government is the picture as a whole, but we need collaborative actions and hard working from all the companies and enterprises in different industries in order to achieve this goal, especially the high polluted industries. So for the companies, they should actively promote their green transformation in order to improve their energy efficiency, reduce the carbon emissions, and also jointly build a new development model of green, coordinated, and high quality development. So under this guidance of the strategy, the Chinese companies supposed to also invest more in the practice of carbon peaking and carbon neutralization. And this is a very hot topic now in China, is that the companies should follow the high quality development path formulated by the government to actively promote their carbon emission reduction and constantly close to carbon neutrality. So, so next I will talk about how the business are supposed to have their transition, or let's say transformation, to the green strategy. First of Well, if the companies want to have the low carbon transformation, we need to keep the low carbon sincerely, and also continuous high quality low carbon transformations from different perspectives, because this is the key to motivating the stakeholders and the social groups to support the company's transformation and move toward their high quality development. It should be noted that the low carbon behavior of the companies should not only talk about the slogans, but also we need to, nor they should not abandon their own situation and take excessive actions. In addition, the behavior to pretend that they're in the low carbon transformation is also not very good, such as greenwashing and carbon reduction, and also unscientific energy transformation. And this way is supposed to be harmful for the development of the company. And also it will not be benefit to their sustainability. So that's why we need to be sincerely keep the spirit of low carbon. And also we need to set up long-term value orientation and emphasize attention to the non-economic interests, because most of the companies are under the model of the shareholder first philosophy. So the enterprises mainly fulfill the reciprocal social responsibility and pursue short-term economic benefits, which is detrimental to sustainable development. Actually, the company is supposed to pay more attention to non-economic interests and establish long-term value orientation, such as changing non-low carbon production lines or use recyclable and easily degradable materials, and establish and improve their product scrapping and recycling process, etc., in order to achieve the bottom line of the sustainability. And also they need to encourage low carbon and green behaviors of their own employees or stakeholders in order to achieve, to establish a low carbon brand image. And the last point is that we need to set up the social value orientation and emphasize on altruism, because in the process of the low carbon transformation, the company is supposed to based on the social first model to pay attention on their social performance and give consideration to social efficiencies and the fairness, actively fulfill the altruistic social responsibility and take others as the value orientation, and establish the low carbon orientation mission, vision, and values, and also develop their strategy or adjust their strategies according to their green mission and vision. So in this case, the research center from our university, actually also the research center I'm working in, so-called high quality development for companies. We are more focused on how to achieve these 30/60 carbon neutrality goals from the perspective of the Chinese companies. But actually, after analyzing, we found that the companies now are facing with a lot of practical problems in the process to achieve this carbon neutrality. The first one is that the assigning of the responsibility for carbon neutralization of the business is not accurate. So for different companies, they don't know where is my assignment, where is my carbon emissions, because we are all working in the production line or supply chain all together. So it is lack of the accurate assigning of responsibility. And second is that they do not have a very strong motivation for carbon emission reduction, because it is related to the higher technical requirements. And also they need to adjust their strategies. But as you know that if you want to change your strategies, you need to change a lot of things. what happens in your business. So that's why they're not very motivated to do that. And also the application of carbon offset method of the company is not proper. So sometimes the companies do not know how to do the carbon offset. Even they have reduced the carbon emission a lot, they still have some emissions left. So they don't know how to offset it. And more importantly is that the information disclosure of this carbon neutralization of the companies is not clear, and the benefits of the carbon neutralization is not known so far, not very clear in China. So from one side, that there's no mechanism for them to really disclosure this carbon information. On the other hand is that they don't know why they need to do it and what's the benefit. So that's basically the 5 barriers we have analyzed now the companies are facing to. So this in this picture also shows that how could we systematically consider the whole problem as a whole. It is called the model of Crocs. It's like the shoes, right? But we have divided into 5 phases for the main activities the company is supposed to do and also to follow. And especially that we want to have the research from the government perspective to show that how could we help the companies to achieve their carbon neutrality goal. And the first session, as first step, is to have commitment of carbon neutrality. And second is that we need to reduce the carbon emission and then offset it. And later, we need to have the mechanism to have communication of carbon neutrality. And at the last, we need to see the promoting or facilitating mechanism for them to do the carbon neutrality. And based on this idea, we have already applied for a joint research fund from the Chinese Social Scientific Research Fund, which is about 600,000 Swedish kroner to conduct this research. And we just started the research from this year. And if I have time or if I have opportunities later, I can continue to share the research results with you guys in the future. Okay, so after all this information, as you can see, actually currently the double carbon goal, how to achieve it is not clear, and also from the both perspective of government and companies, people still are waiting, watching others, and also try to learn from others. So there's a financial review conducted by Peking University. They summarize the carbon emission reduction pathways of major industry, and it mainly includes 2 paths of reducing carbon emissions and increasing carbon absorptions. So from the picture, I'm sorry that it is in Chinese, but since the time limited, I didn't really translate it into English. But basically, we can see from the picture of the tree, we have main branches. Like first one is reduce the carbon emission. And in order to achieve the reducing the carbon emission, we need to change the energy structures. For example, we need to reduce the fossil use. We need to increase the clean energy. Also, we need to have different facilities and machines in order to achieve the better technology for renewable energy production and saving, etc. And also for main industrial area, we are focusing on the transportation, the buildings, the farming, industry, and also the electricity, etc. So this is the industries which we called high polluted industry, and actually they're having almost like 75 or 80% of the whole emission. So we paid more attention on those industries in China. And also we will have a lot of financial support from the financial areas in order to achieve, for example, green economy, carbon financing products, etc., in order to help the business to achieve their goals with the help of the financial products. And at the last, the branch is to increase the carbon absorptions. And in this case, actually, the technology is not very advanced so far. And also, I think all the scientists are working on it about how to observe, how to save, how to change the form of the carbon or CO2 into others. So this is basically the overview about how to achieve the double carbon goal from perspective of technology. And now I'll give you a case about a case in China about how they achieve these carbon goals by themselves. On March 12, 2021, the Ant Group announced their carbon neutrality targets, and they tried to achieve this by 2030 and regularly disclosing their progress in carbon neutrality from 2021. So how did they do that? Basically, they transform existing parks to save energy and reduce the emissions in order to improve energy efficiency. And this new park shall be designed and constructed and operated in coordinates with green building standards. And also they establish the incentive mechanism and advocate employees to practice low carbon office behavior. So in this case, by 2021, they have already decreased the carbon emissions about 38,000 tons, and it equals to 15,000 cars emissions per year. And also, actually, they have achieved this carbon neutrality by decreasing the CO2 emissions, by also instead of the traditional energy, they use the new energies, and also they also buy some CCER offset carbon to offset the carbon emissions in order to achieve the carbon neutrality goal. And the other case is from Apple. As we all know that they have always been concerned about the significant impact of the climate change. So they have also become carbon neutral in its global operations since April 2020 through several measures. For example, they have more than 100 suppliers to use to promise to use 100% renewable energy for electricity, and also they have 100% usage for new energy in their facilities. At the same time, they have the Restore Fund, which has more than $2 billion investment for providing the pathway to achieve the carbon neutrality at the end. And they also set a goal of manufacturing products with net zero carbon emissions by 2030. As we can see in the picture that previously, before 2020, they have basically decreased their CO2 emissions through many ways. And by 2030, you can see they can achieve the carbon zero net emissions by also offsetting some of their carbon emissions. So this is a very good commitment made by Apple. And in actions, they are committed to becoming carbon neutral throughout the life cycle of its product, from the production of the raw material to the product manufacturing and transportation. For each activity in the value chain, the relevant measures are selected, and also they are partnered with the Conservation International and Goldman Sachs to establish the Restore Fund, as I mentioned, to invest in this solution. And this is how the Apple do. And actually, previously, as Avril introduced, that we have all focused on circular economy a lot for many years already, in order to achieve the better performance from the business perspective. And I'll give a very brief introduction about how the circular economy could help the companies to achieve their carbon emission goals. So actually, for circular economy, and the academic and industry leaders have become very interested to this concept since decades ago, and it is seemed as a replacement for the previous linear economy system of take, make, and dispose, and they emphasize on reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I think these keywords I have mentioned also in my previous slides. And currently, this is the generic concept that encompasses a variety of sustainability approaches, such as the regenerative design, remanufacturing, green economy, cradle-to-cradle, industrial ecology, and blue economy, etc. And actually, in this idea, we have the circular business model, which focus on how to make the business model of the companies change or transform to a better way in order to achieve better performance in environmental performance, social performance, as well as their financial performance. So the business model innovation and circular business model emphasize on the return flow to the producer from the users, though there can be intermediaries between the two parties. And basically, we could identify 4 different kinds of circular business models. This is a paper from Gisseldorfer from 2020, and he identified cycling, extending, or intensifying, or dematerializing these different kinds of business model in order to achieve better environmental performances. And also, he mentioned how these companies supposed to make the transformation. Sometimes they're supposed to be full transformation from the traditional one to the circular one, and also sometimes it can exist at the same time in the whole in one company, and also they can do it from acquisition in order to achieve their circular economy business model transformation. So I just give a very brief introduction to this part because you can also find a lot of related papers on how to do this circular business model and innovations. So we could generally identify 3 different kinds of business model innovations, especially from the technological ones, which we are more interested in. And this is the picture actually from the Nancy Boken's paper. And most probably we are focusing on the technological part, especially how to achieve their value from how to create value from the waste, how to maximize material and energy efficiency, and how to use or get the renewable and the natural energy involved in our business model. Okay, so next I'll give you one case about Baocailong. This is the Chinese new material company, about how they achieve the circular economy and how they apply the circular economy to achieve their carbon neutrality goal. And this company actually was established in 23 and successfully listed in Shanghai Stock Exchange in 2011. And the company's main business involves clean energy, coal-based petrochemical production, and so on. And this company has built a circular economic industrial chain, and by using this circular economic model to save energy, reduce emissions, reduce the consumption, and increase efficiency. And it drives the green, efficient, and circular development of the whole company. And this company has successfully built a high-temperature coal tar hydrogenation unit, which can transform their fuel oil into high value added and high standard clean energy, which is a very specific and significant technology leap in the field of this coal chemical industry, and which also promise their success actually in their industry. And also it is speeding up its traditional coal chemistry industry to a modern new coal chemistry industry transformation and upgrading, and relying on the circular economic industrial chain, driving the green, efficient, and cycle development of the company. And in addition, this company also have some advanced technologies such as carbon tracking, capture, and the storage. As I mentioned, these three technologies are also one of the most important way to achieve the carbon neutrality from the perspective of technology. And it is committed to, through the carbon emission reduction at source, and use this carbon dioxide to achieve the low carbon or even zero carbon development of high carbon industries. And the last case I will share with you guys is a company called Mengniu. It is a milk company, and the announcement for them is they want to build a sustainable earth. Actually, in their sustainable development report in 2020, they positively respond to the national goal, to our 2060 neutrality goal, and promise to take the lead in achieving the carbon neutrality in the whole industry, and would regularly publish the emission reduction targets on their own path. And this company are working with the whole industry chain to lead the whole industry towards the carbon neutrality through green production, responsible supply chain, and also circular economy, and protect the common health and mankind and the earth with their concrete actions. So actually, currently, they have already become a low carbon leader, a leading brand of low carbon development in China since 2010, due to its adherence to the low carbon standards of product design, raw material procurement, semi-finished products, finished product sales, and also transportation and their use and recycling. So actually, currently, they has put the green concept through the whole process and developed a green industrial chain from ranch to table between the companies and consumers. For example, they use a lot of renewable resources and clean energy, such as solar, photovoltaic power generation, and the biogas power generation And also they have the Global Forest System certified environmental protection packaging materials to be used in their packaging, and also wastewater produced in daily processing is processed to realize their recycling. So this is a picture that you can see. This is like a building that's how they achieve this carbon neutrality goal. And actually they have a very full developed path in order to achieve their goal. Okay, I think here it is all the slides I want to share with you guys. Any questions are welcomed.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jing. It was so interesting. Yeah, very broad topic, very interesting, very ambitious goals from China. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So, well, I think I can open the Q&A session for our participants. If someone would like to ask a question or would like to comment on the presentation from Dr. Jing. Isaac, please. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Professor Shao. My question is related to the examples. Could you maybe elaborate more on, for example, the last example, the company? Could you share again the slide? Do you have more like kind of practices or specific, examples about the processes that they have maybe implemented, to become carbon zero, or support that maybe they have from the government or their companies, just for me to understand a bit better, how they're accomplishing this.
Yeah, I think I can share the screen again because just now I don't really have time to explain this map. Thank you very much for the question. I think it's just a very a good question related to this topic. Indeed, they have, if we can see this picture clearly, actually they are having a very systematic pathway to achieve their carbon emission neutrality goal. And they have established 12 practice system in order to support their goals. For example, they have the digital ecological park in order to cooperate with different suppliers and different partners to achieve the carbon goal at the same time. And also they have the green manufacturing plants to use green packaging, green designing, green production, and also green technologies to achieve better environmental performance as a whole. Furthermore, they also have this so-called happy employees project in order to achieve the social performance, better social performance, etc. I think they have much more information related to how to achieve this carbon neutrality goal. But basically from our idea is that they want to, actually they have a very, how can I say, big commitment to safeguard the humankind and the earth for the health for every people. They are doing very good, especially on designing their own products, on packaging, especially transportation, to achieve the sustainable business models.
Thank you, Isaac, for the question. And thank you, Jing, for the clarification. Just, further extending on what you just explained, Jing, and also I had a note related to ANT group that you also discussed previously, the case of the industrial park that has been converted into an eco-industrial park. Well, in one of my previous papers, I was exploring the global distribution of the eco-industrial parks. And somehow, surprisingly, because I'm not, of course, from China and I was not familiar with the sustainability initiatives in China, our results have showed that, okay, China had indeed the highest number of eco-industrial parks distributed worldwide. That was a surprising thing for me to find out as a researcher, because I mean, somehow you start with some basic assumptions, and it was not my assumption in the beginning. And then while exploring their policies and what they have been designing in the last, I would say, 3 decades, okay, China, I think, has generated very well designed, mostly top-down governmental approaches in order to foster this kind of transitions in the country. But just it may be a quick tip. If you want, you can also check that paper. It's related to transition from industrial parks and eco-industrial parks. So it talks about transition in China. It talks about the transition in States, and it also talks about the transitions in Europe. And basically, I was trying to compare the transition dynamics between these geographies. And what I have found was, okay, top-down policies like China is mostly interested in can function quite well up to a certain limit, but after that limit, the business, the enterprise itself should be motivated in order to get engaged with this kind of initiatives. So this also brings me to my question to you, because you also mentioned in the beginning the responsibility part, the motivation part. It's not clear for businesses, for enterprises. I mean, why, how, and what? No, why do I have to do that? Maybe the what part can be the easiest, although you have focused, the content mostly to the technical issues. I think the technical solutions can be there, but it's so difficult for the business to understand why to incorporate it and also how to do it. No, that's somehow bringing me to the question of, is it really a technical problem, or this is rather a social or institutional problem? No, I don't know. What's your take on this point? Yeah, thank you, Jing.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Thank you, Avril. Indeed, the practitioners were a little bit surprised when the president was doing the announcements in 2020, because actually the companies are not ready for that. So when you're talking about motivation, they don't really have the motivation. They see benefits in the industrial parks if they cooperate with other companies, because they can get benefits. They can get very clear benefits. So that's why they can start to cooperate. But actually, from their own idea, they don't really have the motivation. But since the announcement was stated by the president globally, it has become a kind of promise made by the Chinese government. So that's why from the top to down, most probably in China, I think maybe you understand, our policies are from the top to down. So like the governmental policies and issues will be made firstly to have the guidelines of how the companies, how the industries, how the specific high polluted companies supposed to do, and they have the standard made at the beginning, and then all the industries and companies will follow the guidelines in order to start to make their own pathway to achieve it. So it become not the work from their motivation. It is the work you have to do, or it is your job, or it is your responsibility. And actually, from the other perspective, you can see if all the companies, for example, the electronic power companies, if everyone is working on it and decrease their carbon emissions, and you don't, in this case, you will have a very awful performance after maybe 2-3 years. So in this case, you will not survive anyway. So this is how the Chinese government do. They have issued the guidelines from the top, and then the industry is supposed to follow and supposed to be active in order to have this collaborative behavior in order to achieve this carbon neutrality goal. So that's basically the idea or logic behind all the stories.
Yeah. Well, I think Enes has a question as well. I saw his hand. Yes, Enes.
No, I don't know. Do we have time or not? But
please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah. Thanks, Jing. I think it was a really interesting presentation. And by the way, Xiaowen in the call is my PhD student, so I intentionally asked her to join.
Okay.
So yeah, Xiaowen, please feel free to participate in the discussion as well. So yeah, and the Jing is the Xiaowen is doing her PhD on green development behavior, like very linked to this kind of discussions. So I think, Jing, it is very interesting that you talk about commitment and the authenticity of these initiatives. I think this was really important. But my question would be what is the root causes of unsustainability in the Chinese manufacturing industry? This is the first question, because focusing on the root causes of the root problems of unsustainability, the causes of unsustainability in Chinese manufacturing industry. And the second question is that by focusing on the carbon emissions, that means are we focusing on the end of pipe solutions rather than addressing the root causes of this problem? Because there are many ways of approaching these problems. Just to speculate, I just wanted to ask this question. And the last question is that how all these things you talk about is linked to green development behavior in China.
Okay, so can you remind me the first question?
The first question is that actually what's the real problem, in manufacturing industry in China, the root causes of this problem, what is causing this unsustainability problem at the first place?
Yeah, I think well, I think also Ms. Zhu knows a lot about it, since we have a very high-speed development phase during last decades. So actually, we sacrifice our environmental performance in order to achieve better economic performance. And that's the truth. We cannot deny it. We cannot ignore it. It is what happened already for last decades. So since 20 years ago, from 2020, especially after in the new centuries, the Chinese government start to realize that actually the good environment is the most valuable things for next generation or next generation. So also our president, I think Ms. Zhu also knows it, said that how can I say, 绿水青山就是金山银山, right? It means that the green water, the how can I say, the mountains with all plants are our values or our treasures. So from let's say 2 decades ago, we have paid a lot of attention to transform all this wrong behavior to the better one or to the right one. So that's the main causes, as I understand your question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
And second one?
And the second one is that how all these link to green development behavior.
Yeah, indeed, in these 2 decades, I think a lot of companies, especially in the high polluted industries, they have to do it. From one side is that, as Ebro just mentioned, that through the ecology parks, the companies can really get benefits if they do this economic circular economy or a cleaner technology, or get the renewable resources involved in their production line. And also from the other perspective is that the competitors, especially not only the Chinese competitors, but also the international competitors, they're all doing it, especially the competitors in, let's say, in Europe, and in US, Australia, etc. So if you can see different ways to do that and it performs better, you will follow it. You will try to change yourself and to achieve better performance. And that's what we have done also in last years.
Thank you. Thank you, Jing, for the clarifications. I think it has been a quite fruitful discussion session. I think there are many more questions and many more topics, subtopics that we could focus. Maybe we should continue that with next webinar, and green development behaviors. NS is also one of the hot topics. But congrats, Chawan, if you're working on that, maybe one of our next webinars, we can also invite you, NS, and your PhD student, explore that further. Well, I will share my screen again, just to conclude the webinar for today. Okay. Well, it was really so nice to have you, Dr. Jing, today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, expertise, and these project results with us. Well, basically, I just want to remind that you can follow IMIM at our website. It's a quite dynamic, active website, posting news all the time, www.masterimim.com. We are also active on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm afraid if Isaac will also let us into TikTok, let's see. So you can also watch our previous webinars in YouTube and UPM. Okay, we are posting our webinars, so they're recorded. You can watch them. And yeah, many thanks for joining us. And send your questions, queries, doubts, or anything, comments to our administrative email address, imim@industriales.upm.es. Okay, here you have our contact email address. So many thanks again. I hope to see you in the upcoming webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Isaac. And thank you, Anis.
Thanks.
Join the session.
All right.